Hey everybody, Mike here, and this video is going to be an overview of RMR footprint optics that are offered by Gideon as of the summer of 2025. So here's your disclaimer. I'm making this video at the end of June 2025. If you're watching it from some time in the future and we've just launched a new product or we've changed reticles or pricing has changed, I apologize in advance. But as of the end of July 2025, everything that I'm about to tell you is true to the best of my knowledge. I have these optics arranged sort of from the smallest window to the largest window. I'm going to give you some technical specs on each. I'm going to show you what it's like to actually shoot a few rounds through each of them, and then I'm going to give you my personal opinion on what each one is best at and why you might choose each one of these optics over the others. Here is the Gideon Rock. Rock, Alpha, and Omega all came out in 2023. They are some of our oldest and most proven pistol dots. Rock is basically a box. It is a fairly short and squat window, not the biggest window we make. In fact, it's the smallest window we make in the RMR footprint. And as you can see, we have a 3 MOA dot in there. This one's in green. They're also available in red. 3 MOA will cover 3 inches of target at 100 yards or 1.5 inches of target at 50 yards. Rock is a tough little unit. You can see there's a lot of metal around the glass, and there's not very much glass, and so it holds up to a beating really well. You can bash it around. You know, you get the idea. Bob has a video of him really trying to wreck one, and it takes a lot to knock Rock out of service. You've got 2 brightness buttons on the left, brightness up, brightness down, total of 10 brightness levels. You have shake awake, so I can put this Walther PDP down and I leave it alone for, it's set for 225 seconds. It's roughly 4 minutes, somewhere around 4 minutes. It's going to fall asleep and it's not going to draw any battery power. It can sit in the sock drawer for 3 months. Something goes bump in the night. All I have to do is grab it, and then it's going to wake back up to my previously selected brightness level. All of our products, all of our dots have that shake awake motion sensing illumination technology. You can see if I angle this right, there's sort of a disc in the top. That disc holds in the CR1632 battery. You put a T15 wrench in the top. We include one in the box with the optic, of course. But you turn that little thing lefty-loosey, and the battery comes out the top. And so you don't have to remove the Rock from the slide and re-zero it after you need to switch the battery out. All of our RMR footprint optics are that way. They will all be able to swap out batteries without needing to be re-zeroed. Rock is currently $200. That is not a sale price. That is all day, every day at GideonOptics.com. $200 for a Gideon Rock. Very solid optic. Okay, so here is Gideon Rock on the Walther PDP Compact. Going to be shooting using my digital SLR as my aiming point. There's our green 3 MOA dot. That's a sight picture fairly up close. All right, and you can see we run out of vertical space in the window, but it's not too bad. All right, and there's 10 rounds pretty much in the middle of that IDPA target. That is the Gideon Rock. Okay, next up is Alpha. Alpha's mounted on a Derya. D-E-R-Y-A. It's a very new brand. I'm super impressed with it. In fact, I dare you to find a better Glock clone for the money than one of these things. Anyway, ha ha ha, dad jokes. 2 brightness buttons on the left side. We have the disc in the center for the 1632 battery. You can see there again. Alpha has a bigger window than Rock. You can see it's a taller window and a wider window, but there's less metal around it, so it's not going to be as tough as Rock is. What it does is it gives you a bigger window, and it allows for us to put in this giant circle dot reticle. We have a 65 MOA circle surrounding a 3 MOA dot, so the dot is the same size as what I just showed you in the Rock, but now it's surrounded by a giant ring. This one obviously is in green, and we also have them available in red. Alpha is the same price as Rock, $200. Any day you please at GideonOptics.com. Up next is the Derya pistol with Gideon Alpha. And there you can see that lovely giant circle dot. You can see why I like to recommend this optic for new shooters. We have a little bit more height in the window so we can track the dot nicer in recoil. And we have a little bit more width, so it's a little bit more forgiving in that way too. But like I said, this is a great optic for new shooters or shooters who want a lot of reticle information. Or if you're a Call of Duty guy and you like that video game feel of having, you know, a video game gun in real life, you can do that with the Alpha. It's very, very Battlefield, Call of Duty, you know, whatever the kids are playing these days. And that is the Gideon Alpha, $200 and super underrated right now. Here is Gideon Omega. This is on an old Glock 26 that used to be my everyday carry for many, many years, and still does the job. Anyway, Omega was our biggest window product for quite some time, and it was our best-selling unit of 2024. And it was the biggest window we had until the Granite came along. You can see it's a nice round window there, and this one's in red. We have a 45 MOA circle surrounding a 3 MOA dot. So we still have that fine 3 inches at 100 yards, 1.5 inches at 50 yards, etc. Aiming point in the middle, and a 45 MOA ring around it that's not quite as big as the Alpha's ring. This red color looks a little bit underwhelming on video camera. I assure you it is nearly as bright as the green. I think the green pops just a bit more in real life, but the difference is not as bad as it appears on my video camera. The red is still plenty bright, although I do prefer the green personally. That is Gideon Omega. Omega is available either in a plain dot or in the circle dot. It's the only one that we do that has 4 different reticles, 2 in green, 2 in red, that are available for it. Omega is $220 at GideonOptics.com as of the summer of 2025. All right, here is the Omega on Glock 26. Big window. No worries. Red circle dot is smaller than the circle dot on the Omega. Like I said, it doesn't show up particularly well on camera. There we go. Start eating the middle out of that sucker. You'll actually notice, I'm going to change the focus on this real quick. Minor rant. Notice that the dot is not co-witness to these iron sights worth a darn. And that's because the iron sights are actually off to the left really badly on this gun, and I need to get the sight pusher tool out and push that rear sight back to the middle. So, you know, the old saw on the internet, guys are like, well, I like my iron sights because they never lose zero. Well, there's you an example of iron sights that lost their zero before the dot did in real life on a Glock 26. So there. Omega, $220 all day long, GideonOptics.com. And last but certainly not least, in fact, the largest window that we make is the Granite Comp RMR, and that is on a Walther Q5 Match competition gun. This has an absolutely massive window surrounding an 8 MOA dot with a 2032 battery, so it's got a bigger battery housed in the right side. The reason why it's over here is because Granite was originally a Glock MOS project. We also have the Granite Comp and the Granite Carry in the Glock MOS format, and due to the positioning of the screws in the Glock slide, we couldn't get that tray where we wanted to in the Granites. So we wound up just hanging the battery off the right side, and since we had to hang it off the right side, why not do the biggest battery we can? So this one is a 2032 battery rather than a 1632 battery. Granite has shake awake like all of the other dots. It has 10 brightness levels. All of the other features are the same. You just have an enormous window with a big competition size dot in red or green. As of the making of this video, we plan on making a slightly smaller version of this to match the Carry MOS. It will be the Granite Carry RMR. It is in production, but has not arrived yet, and so it's not in this video. But in the future, we hope to have a slightly less redonkulously huge version of the Granite for RMR footprint shooters. As of the making of this video, Granite Comp is $250 at GideonOptics.com. Okay, and finally, here it is. Dun dun dun. The Gideon Granite Comp. Giant freaking window. If you can't find your dot in this window, I don't know what to tell you, son.
At this point my camera overheated, but you get the idea.
Now I'm going to give you my personal opinion on what I think is the best use case for each one of these dots. And I'm doing this because I do get customer service emails and inquiries on Instagram and Facebook of people going, hey, which one do you recommend for blah, blah, blah. And I want to say, in general, the best dot for you is not based on your hardware. It's based on what you're doing with that hardware and where you are as a shooter. So instead of saying, hey, what's your best scope for an AR-15? Or what's your best optic for a Walther? Ask me, hey, I'm going to be conceal carrying a Walther PDP compact. For conceal carry with a gun this size, what do you recommend? And I might say, hey, on my PDP compact, I use the Rock. I don't necessarily need a giant window because I practice with this gun a lot. I shoot it pretty darn well, I believe. I like to carry this gun when my wife is carrying her PDP-F, so we have magazine compatibility because that's what I call romance. And this gun is not super easy to hide, so I have to dress around it a little bit, but the grip is what gives me away first with this gun. I do like the styling on the Rock and how it seems to kind of match the slide serrations. Looking cool is important. I don't care what anybody else tells you, you gotta look cool. I think it's a handsome looking optic on this gun. I'm fast enough with it, I'm precise enough with it. I don't need to go to a bigger window. What I do need is something that's crazy tough. You know, I want to be able to drop it, you know, and bang it around, you know, and it's not going to care, right? It's going to stay zeroed. It's not going to break. The glass is not going to shatter. It's going to do everything I need it to do. There's a nice little co-witness right there. Bob has a YouTube video where he had to try very hard to destroy one of these. So I know this is a tough optic. I know it's not going to let me down, and it belongs on a carry gun of moderate size and a shooter of moderate performance and skill. Here is Alpha. Alpha's on the Daria pistol, and Alpha is kind of a sleeper for a competition dot because of the situational awareness is so nice with this thin metal that goes around the window. But I tend to recommend Alpha a lot to new shooters. When I have somebody who says, hey, I'm just getting into guns, I'm not very good yet, I want to try a dot, but I'm not sure it's for me, blah, blah, blah. What do you recommend? I say try an Alpha because we have this giant circle dot in here and it's really easy to find. It's small enough that I can conceal this gun. I can hide this gun just as easily as I can hide the Walther compact. Not a problem at all. But I can find this reticle super fast. If I'm at the beginning of my training in the ways of the Force and my draw stroke is not perfect and I kind of miss sometimes, oh, there's just a corner of the reticle. I can see that I need to make an adjustment, and that I can as I'm building my grip in my draw stroke, I can refine my sight picture and I can drive it out and I can break off shots once I've found my reticle. But this reticle, having the giant 65 MOA ring, is one of the easier ones to find your reticle if you are climbing the mountain of trying to find your dot and you're just trying out optics for the first time. So I often recommend Alpha to beginners for that reason. It is a great first dot if you're just first trying out pistol optics and trying to figure out if this is for you or not. And at the price, it's pretty hard to beat. You're only down $200 to get a really tough dot that's going to last you a really long time, and with a lifetime warranty. What do you got to lose? If you're looking to get into the dot life, why not choose an Alpha? That's my take. Okay, here's our Omega, and it's on a Glock 26 that I customized myself. This was my everyday carry gun for years, and so I cut this frame with a Dremel, and I stippled it with a wood-burning kit from Harbor Freight. It's got a nicer trigger in it. I use the Magpul 12-round mags because they give me a place to put my pinky finger for recoil control. It's a 26 that shoots a lot like a 19, but it's a little bit easier to hide, and I have the frame cut to fit my hand really well. I really, really like this gun, but it was not a optics ready gun. I had a local gunsmith cut this slide for the RMR footprint. So if you wanted to replicate this setup and put an Omega on a G26, you would probably want to start with an MOS gun, and get an adapter plate to go from MOS to RMR. It would just sit up just a little bit higher. Um, or you could do what I did and start with a plain Jane Gen 3 G26. You can get these things pretty cheap these days, and then customize it. The reason I have the big window on this small gun is because I want to point out that, yes, you can carry an Omega or this size window. My theory on why you get away with it is because of the round shape. The round shape is super easy to hide. It doesn't create a sharp corner that pokes your clothing out. The clothing kind of folds over it in a natural looking fold, and the optic will not give you away. So if you are one of those people that's like, man, I really want to try an Omega, I want that big window, but I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to conceal carry it, you might be able to get away with it more than you think. You maybe do not need to go with the Glock 43 or 48 and the RMSC footprint, and go with that single stack. You can go with a double stack and a big window, and man, this thing is still really easy to hide and lightweight. Do recommend. In 2025, I think the Glock 26 is honestly underrated, and sort of a forgotten gem in their lineup. The Omega is not a forgotten gem. It is still one of our most popular products. I'll reiterate one more time. It's the only one that we have available with 4 reticles. You get 3 MOA dot in red or green. You get 3 MOA dot with a ring around it, in red or in green. So that's a total of 4 reticles at $220. This was our competition, what we would recommend for competition until the Granite series came out. But it also is great for an everyday carry gun. And finally, here's the Granite comp. Now, if the comp name wasn't enough to give you a clue, the fact that Walther put blue anodizing all over this gun to let you know that it's a race gun, should be the thing that tells you comp stands for competition. Giant window, giant dot in the window, super easy to find, and available in red or in green, but obviously this is competition stuff. You're not going to hide this. This is going to print like crazy, unless you're one of those guys who's like the size of Andre the Giant and you can get away with, carrying a Desert Eagle, or if you're still repping the Matrix circa 1999 and you go everywhere in a black trench coat, then you could probably hide this. But for most of us ordinary folks, if you're looking for a concealed carry dot, that is not it. They are fantastic, though, for competition, and also another good choice for new shooters who are trying to get into the dot life, and they need a lot of forgiveness in terms of their presentation and finding the dot quickly. Oh, there it is up in the corner. If it was a smaller window, maybe I wouldn't have seen the dot at all, and I'd be swirling the muzzle around looking for it. Oh, there it is. Okay, now I can start shooting, right? Not a situation anybody wants to be in. So if you are not a circle dot person, but you want the biggest window possible for learning purposes, then Granite Comp is for you. Also, when people say, I want to put a pistol dot on a long gun, I have one of these on my short-barreled Remington 870 SBS. It's a registered NFA shotgun. I've run classes with it. It's totally shotgun rated. That's not even a question. Any of these dots will survive on a shotgun with no problem. But if I'm going to put it on something like a shotgun or a PCC, something that I will never try to hide at all because it's a long gun with a stock, then why not get the biggest window that I can? So I also will recommend Granite if you're looking to put a small and lightweight dot on a long gun as the primary, or this will go on a 45-degree offset just fine, and it can be a secondary to put on a 45-degree to roll over if you're running like a 1:8 low power variable optic or something like that. So all of these dots, I should mention before I close, will come with a low profile 1913 Picatinny rail in the box, so you can put them on anything that has a 1913 rail without having to go look for an adapter plate in the aftermarket. Forget that. It's already in the box. No problem. And all of these optics you should be able to find an unboxing video and a first impressions video here on YouTube. So if you've bought one of these and you want to know how to install it, I've got install videos out there and I'll guide you through step by step. Anyway, thank you for watching the entire video with me. You guys are the best. We have the best customers out there, and we really appreciate you. Happy shooting and be safe, and I'll see you at the range.